afternoon. Welcome back. Here we are in the middle of March, March 14th, 2025.
Right?
Art is here. John is here. I am here, ready for another thrill-packed Friday afternoon. Copiers, AI, cats and dogs living together. Anarchy. Pure anarchy. Art, I'm almost afraid to ask you what's new because I know you've been at the BTA.
Yeah.
So you must be chock full of titillating tidbits.
Um, yeah, not a lot of information from the show,
All right.
but basically some of the chatter after the show.
Yeah, that's the best stuff.
And
Right?
I guess the biggest thing that's going to hit the industry is tariffs.
Oh, really? So how so? Tell me
Everybody.
about that. That's interesting.
We've already got word that Rico is pushing across tariffs. Toshiba,
Well, what do you mean, Art?
HP.
Hang on. They're going to pass the cost of the incoming tariffs to their devices.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
That's correct. Um, so right now I know about Rico, I know about HP, I know about Toshiba. I'm sure every Japanese manufacturer is going to follow suit because 90% of those machines are all made in China. And the increase to China was an additional 10%
They're just getting started, though.
from goods in China. We got Mike coming on board.
Wow. That'll be interesting.
Interesting to see what's going to happen within the next 2 or 3 weeks, since most of the manufacturers start their new year on
Right.
April 1st.
Hey, can you think of anything that's made in the U.S.?
U.S.
Yeah.
uh,
Hey, Mike.
eggs.
Hi guys, how's it going?
It's going wonderfully.
Hello, Mike.
How are you, Art? How was
Good.
Disney World?
Disney World was fantastic. Yes, I spent an arm and a leg, but memories to last a lifetime. Now, now I got to go probably sell an extra 20 or 30 copiers to go again next year, or to pay the bill from this year.
I know, it's incredible.
Yeah, we were just talking about tariffs that are going to come across April 1st in the industry.
Yeah. Now what? Japan's going to hike another 10% or a 10%. That's where you're at, right? Art, that's what you're talking about?
Well, 10% for any goods coming out of China, an additional 10% what was already there.
Okay.
So I've already heard from one manufacturer there's going to be a 20% lift on accessories. And then other manufacturers are basically, I heard that HP is going to have 15% across the board. With Toshiba coming in at 7% April 1st and another 7% 6 months later.
All right. Well, okay.
Where'd you get those numbers?
Inside.
From where? I'm sorry.
And inside source.
Oh,
Yeah, very credible.
well, I'm not a big fan of inside sources. You know, I don't believe anything until I see it.
Right. So one of the notifications we had was in writing. So one of the sources is definitely verified.
All right.
So,
well,
So at any point, do you think there's an opportunity for any of these Japanese OEMs, or anybody in China for that matter, but that's a different story. But at any point, do you think that there's an opportunity for the Japanese OEMs to raise their prices using the tariffs as a tool to do it, because they're all losing billions of dollars?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It can be a bit of a money grab for them, especially the ones where their profits were lower, not where they wanted them to be. And then what happens when if the tariffs get dropped in 3 months, how quick does the manufacturers, rescind those price increases?
You know, the last 5, 6 months, almost every OEM has laid off hundreds of employees pre-tariffs. Nice cigar, brother.
Yeah.
God, if I'd known we were smoking, I'd have brought one.
Oh yeah, we're
There you go.
smoking. We're a cocktail or two.
We smoke every Friday.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get back in the groove here. I think I lost my fastball.
You can get it.
You know what,
back.
everyone's got an opinion on this stuff, but at the end of the day, we got to watch it play out, right? I mean, I was on a call Wednesday, a Zoom call with a bunch of people, and the conversation was about tariffs with Canada and back and forth, right?
Right.
And one of the guys happened to be an expert economics professor and an expert in tariffs. And I'm trying to get my hands on this slide because it's actual, these are factual numbers. So the guy told us there was a lot of back and forth with these tariffs. So why are we doing this to Canada? Well, the guy basically said, he listed like 25 different products that we pay on average a 46% tariff and as much as 275% tariff for Canadian products that Canada hits us with. And we charge them?
Zero?
Nothing.
Zero.
Nothing. Yep.
So you have to almost look at every single one of these things as different, unique, thoughtful, negotiating tactics, to be sure. And if you want to be a little bit of a cynic, just look at the financial statements for every OEM except two that have lost billions of dollars over the last 4 years.
Yes.
So it gets pretty complicated pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, boy, just another thing, huh? And even you're right, Mike. Even if it does go through, it's just scuttlebutt right now, right? Did we? April 1st, pretty soon. But you know how these things, it backs off, it comes back again. We'll see. But golly, just one more thing to put in there, in a difficult time, I guess. I mean, you're right, Mike. I forgot about everyone laying everybody off for the last 6 months. I mean, it's been going on like almost every week. You hear something.
Yeah, and
And
it's a horrible situation, but
yeah.
it's also what businesses do in order to stay healthy and profitable and continue to be successful. But now let's not forget those things, right?
Yeah. Well, also, Mike, interesting you brought that up. We're seeing that everywhere, right? I mean, I'm not going to get political, but I'll get political. This whole Doge and Trumpian or what, left, right, middle, I don't care. It doesn't matter where you're at on it. If you look at it economically in a cost basis, I mean, there's a bunch of opportunity to reduce costs that an organization incurs, whether that's a government or private sector, right? If we look at it through the private sector eyes, as I know we all do, it's like, well, wait a minute. What's the ROI on the education, whatever administration in the last 40 years? And if you look at it, it's like, well, there is none. So why are we, business people go, why are we doing this? There's money. We could get results if we did it differently. So and Mike, I think, I know that mentality is going to take hold across the globe. There's something weird going on, not weird, but the fire is there are other people talking like this in different countries right now. There are some that are staunch against it. So this is a huge little shift that, once again, our niche, we've gone through shifts before, nothing like this, but in a way, there's a little familiarity to all this, right? I mean, if it's not,
I don't want to hog the show, but I mean, just think of it. Before Doge and before, every single business person that I know and company that I know, what do? They Doge themselves.
Yes.
So why is it different for the government?
Good way to put
it shouldn't be.
They Doge them. Well, yeah. I mean, there's differences. They're not all good, though. I mean, they Doge themselves. I like that. Yeah. I mean, I think Shark Tank guy said that. Mr. Wonderful, I think, I don't know when he said it, but it's like, yeah, when you go in and you take over a business, right? And if it's failing, You go in and you cut and burn and you slash and you got to get to the bone so you can rebuild it. Right?
If you're not doing that as a CEO
right.
or a board member, you failed your fiduciary responsibility and you're fired.
Right. So try and say fiduciary to a politician.
Yeah.
Or someone in the government. They don't know what that means.
No.
I mean,
But now the flip side of that is we should never get ourselves wrapped around the axle. I mean, look at the good things that are going on.
Yeah.
I've been following all week long this big, wonderful meeting that the Xerox folks had out in Vegas.
Yep.
And I love when the CEO, I forget his name, Steven Branishek or something like that. Forgive me. But he the first thing he said, he walks on the stage and he goes, Xerox is back. Now that's a big, bold statement that he subsequently followed up with tremendous facts about how they're managing their company better and Lexmark and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's good things happening. And we somehow always want to gravitate to the negative, right?
Right. It's all good. I mean, it is all good, in my opinion. You have to go through, these fires, a forest fire, you got to burn down the forest so the forest can grow again even better. That's just the way it is. So these things have to happen. The layoffs, right? I hate them. You hate them. We've been through it on the wrong side, but there's always another day after. That's another thing. It's like I understand that a public servant has never been laid off before, so it's going to be new to them. I get that. But and it's an opportunity for you to learn even more and to be better. You're not, no one's going to, hopefully, this isn't the end of the world for you or whoever that is, right? And I know that we all can identify with that, maybe. I don't know, Art, if you've ever been laid off, but if you get laid off, it sucks.
No.
But there's the next day.
Never
right?
been laid off.
Okay, braggart.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? The amazing thing about our industry, though, is when you see all of these layoffs, right? Especially, layoffs coming from the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Most of those good people find jobs right away.
They do.
Especially in our industry, right?
Hey, the last great purge was the COVID purge when everyone got rid of all their top salespeople, right? And they all landed on, whatever. I've been saying this for years. If you can do it in the copier industry, you can do it anywhere, whatever it is you do, right? If you're a service tech, if you're a technician or a salesperson, if you can do it in this niche, you can do it anywhere, everywhere. So that's proof. I don't know if it's the same for a government worker. I mean, you got a bio major that is studying dolphins outside the Hawaii. Not bad gig if you can get it, but I don't think SeaWorld is hiring. I don't know.
Well, I would venture a guess that John, Art, me, you, we've all been riffed or fired or somehow impacted. And yet here we are on this call talking like experts in the business. So we all ended up in a good place. Right?
Well, some of us here are being imposters.
Well, what's that old saying? If you suck, you suck.
You suck.
Sorry if I'm blowing up fireflies here, no taker, but Art, look at you, man. You've been a success for I don't even know how long.
45 years.
45 years.
45 years, Mike.
45 years. And you've been rocking and rolling in this industry for 45 years. And that's a testimony to you and the resilience of the industry.
Right.
Yeah, very true.
Don't get a big head, but yeah, he's right. Mike's right. I mean, it's the only reason I keep talking to you.
Only reason John keeps talking to me as well.
Well, yeah, we know that. John's grabbing those coattails.
That's right. I just can't wait to see the book that Art writes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, right?
I mean, think about that. 45 years is a hell of a panorama of our industry.
Yeah, starting with I got in with the first dry toner machines in 1980 when they had the moving tops and they were 10 pages a minute and they had one big paper tray and it was it was great to sell copiers then.
What's a dry toner copier when you say that, right? 80, I wasn't in an 80, but
Before 1980, they were all most of them were liquid, or what they call e-stat machines.
so did you mean that when you say liquid, someone actually had to pour like a ditto machine?
So they had liquid dispersant, a black dispersant, and in some cases it even smelled like kerosene.
Kerosene, yes.
Oh, okay. So then that was not optimum. So when the dry copier came out, that was better?
So what happened was Xerox's patent expired on the dry toner, and that's when most of the Japanese manufacturers entered that market for dry toner machines. Correct, Mike?
Yeah, actually, I'm listening to Art and I'm kind of laughing that you don't know what liquid toner is. But anyway, so yeah, Art, you're 100% right. And if I remember correctly, there was an interim phase before what we know as dry toner today. There was like this kind of powder stuff.
Coated paper with a magnetic toner, right? The Mita,
That's it.
Oh,
Mita 900Ds and the 600Ds. The paper was electrostatic.
oh.
Yeah. And that's how Konica Minolta really got going with moving from wet to that interim step of dry. And then into the legitimate monotoner, or whatever they called it back then, Art, I forget.
Yeah, for years, Minolta always had a dual component machine. They were using developer and dry toner.
Yeah, didn't Savin come up with something unique too, Art?
Landau process.
That's it, Landau process.
Mm-hmm.
God, you gotta write that book, man.
Yeah, actually, Mike, I love the organicness, the way this came up, because I didn't get in copiers till 99. I started selling stuff in 87. Laser printers would be my first experience, or no, dot matrix, 924 pin. But the only thing with liquid would be the crank blue.
Yeah, the ditto.
Yeah, that the teachers all had in the teachers conference room.
Yep.
Yeah, and we all got high.
Yeah, they all smoking their cigarette, eating their tuna fish sandwiches, and getting high.
Give me that piece of paper.
Yeah.
I remember getting it's like,
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, I flunked a lot of tests that way.
You saw some pretty colors, though.
Yeah, pretty. Whoa. That's funny.
Wow. All right, I got to put a mental note to interview Art for like 4 days, and we can write that book together, Art. It'll be a blast.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what, the characters we had in this business, right, Art?
Yeah.
Legends.
Especially the 80s, the middle 80s.
Really?
That was one wild decade.
Yep. I remember when I first got I don't want to name names because it's being recorded, but when my first OEM job, and I mean, I was a kid, I was probably 25, 26 years old at that time. And one of the regional managers, we were in a sales kickoff meeting, there were probably 50 or 60 of us. One of the regional managers came up to me with a water pitcher and said, "Son, I want this filled with vodka within a half hour." And that's at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Got tomato juice somewhere.
Yeah, and the way he said it, I felt like I wasn't going to have a job by noon.
Now, was that, do you remember all the NAMDA shows?
Oh, God. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think we spoke about NAMDA before, but John, if you weren't familiar with NAMDA, or Greg, NAMDA was the once a year where the entire industry got together. All of the manufacturers, any of the third party, but there weren't many third parties back then.
Right.
All of the dealer owners, right? And then salespeople and support people and leasing companies, everybody was at this show. And every manufacturer had a blowout party one night or the other. And Mike, it lasted 4 or 5 days, I think, the show?
Yeah, 5 days. It was 5 days.
Right. Wow. So it was either Las Vegas, right?
Yep.
Atlanta,
Yep.
or New Orleans. That was the three cities they went back and forth to.
Yeah, because we weren't allowed into any other cities.
Got to New York once, never again.
No, New York. They said, no, please go to New Orleans.
So Mike, I believe it was Minolta who had probably in your tenure, who had their night event was Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Yes.
No good can come of this. I can tell what's going to happen.
Yes. Actually, Minolta, we started Minfo. So we started Minfo, and that Minfo led to things like the Yellow Brick Road and all that. But we were the first OEM to actually have an annual, internal meeting, if I could say it that way, not a NAMDA.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that you're talking about kind of came out of there. And before I forget too, I wanted to kind of touch base on this with you as well. I did a survey last month with a number of the consortium dealers, and I'm kind of curious how you guys feel about this. Was their business up between 23 and 24 or down? And if it was up, where did it come from? Were clicks neutral? Were they down? And to a member, every member reported. There were a couple that reported flat, but every dealer member reported up revenue. And that surprised me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, which, given the fact that the clicks and prints are somewhere else or down, where'd they get, right? And guess what came out of that, Art?
What's that?
It was either three things. Either they got into production print to some level, and or IT services, and they partnered with ConnectWise or somebody. And then the third one was, interestingly enough, water.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
so how do you feel? Does that make sense to you?
I wish I would have done water 25 years ago.
Wow.
I wish I would have pulled that trigger and started my own business 25 years ago with water.
Really?
Yes. Yes. I know how lucrative it is and how lucrative it's been. Yeah. Did you ever know, I met a guy in Virginia one year. I forget his name, but he was 8 years ago. I think it was 82. And he ran a copier business out of Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh.
And he had a great Canon dealership, did a lot of rentals, but he also had a side water business that was more profitable than his copier business.
And that was when?
Well, I met him 8 years ago, so he had his water business prior to that. So I'm thinking he was probably doing the water for a good 10 or 15 years before I met him.
Incredible. Well, a lot of people are making money now.
Absolutely.
So what do you think, Greg? We missed it.
I know. Like, I'm thinking about all those times I was sitting next or standing next to a water cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the 80s, and yeah, boy, that would have been something else.
Yeah, and they're still there. I was just in it when John and I were in Atlantic City a week and a half ago. We're in the one of the giant rooms that they have there, and they've got 4 or 5 water coolers just sitting there. But they were the jug water coolers. They're not the new water coolers that are hooked up directly to the plumbing, have the filters in them, and then nobody actually has to lug those water filters around. And one of the biggest thing with water filters, when you go in and talk to a company about, well, do you have water? Oh yeah, we have water. Well, do you use water, containers, right? Do you fill up your water container? Well, everybody knows what a pain in the ass that is to load a water jug onto one of those coolers. But more, how about if somebody gets hurt?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you've got your little 90-pound receptionist. I remember them picking up those dang things, flipping them over, water
Yep.
spills on the ground.
Correct. Somebody hurts their back, somebody hurts their, their
Interesting.
leg or something like that. So there's another thing about it, about the disability. You can probably lower your disability
Premiums.
premiums.
Yep.
So
All
I
right,
guess
so
the
very
question
important
is,
question. I have two important questions, Art. I'll start with the simple one. What are you smoking?
yeah, I'd like
Drew Estate.
Ah, okay.
So, but actually they're factory smokes.
Ah, huh.
So, very inexpensive. This one's probably $2.50,
Wow.
but it smokes like a $10 cigar.
Well, I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah.
This is a great call, by the way. Greg's drinking, you're smoking. This is awesome.
Every
So the
Friday.
second question, given what I shared with you about the survey, was your business up or down 23 to 24?
My personal sales was
Yeah.
up almost 20%.
Wow.
Yes,
What do you think of that, huh?
That's all print copy.
that's all print copy. Yeah. But
Incredible. Great job.
the biggest part of that for me is a wide format.
Oh, okay.
So I concentrate more in the AEC industry, architects, engineers, and construction. And, as John knows, I've told John before, architects and engineers, they don't want A4 devices. They still want A3 devices because they want to be able to print check plots or 12 by 18. They need their wide format machines as well. But those types of companies, they also value IT instead of considering IT an expense.
Hmm.
In
And you've
addition,
been doing that a long time? You've been focused on those verticals?
focused on verticals, yeah, probably in a wide format since for 20 some years.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it all started with the analog Ricoh wide format machines, and it went off to the digital wide format machines. And I can't tell you, the first digital Ricoh machine, we were selling that at list MSRP for $22,000 to $24,000. We were making 10 to 12,000 GP on each machine, and back then I was getting paid 50% commissions.
Hmm.
It was it was a real good run with
I was going to say, you had a
Ricoh.
good run.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, until everybody else came out with their renditions of the Ricoh machine, which was then Xerox, and then Kip came out, and then pretty much the market kind of flooded. But the one good thing about wide format is less competition, right? You
Mhm.
become more of an expert or a guru because you know what the clients need. You can talk their language.
Yeah.
And the average copier rep just doesn't get it. And I'll say most of the dealers don't get the opportunities that there are with wide format.
So I'm kind of curious, again, having you guys on the call, and I appreciate you letting me barge into it. So,
You can't barge in, Mike. You're always welcome, Ben.
well, thank you.
Yep.
I look at you guys, and you've got a lot of experience in the industry, unique, maybe MPS, MNS, or now wide format. Art, I see you posting things and occasionally saying things about what you wish the industry would do to change and make it easier.
Yes,
What is that?
to go to 2 machines for the manufacturers instead of having 8 color MFPs and 8 black and white MFPs. I believe all we need is one A4 machine and one A3 machine. That's all we need. Except for except for production, right? So leave production out of that. Think about SMB and your those types of accounts. Give me one box, right? Give me an A3 box or give me an A4 box. Always give it to me with color. Give me the opportunity to turn color on or off for my client, to sell them a license. Give me the opportunity to change the speed of the machine, right? Let me sell my client a license. I can make that license monthly. I could make it annually. Give me variable print speed for my machine, like the old duplicators, how you could crank them down to 30 and crank them up to 150. I could charge a premium for that for another license, right? And make all of the accessories the same. So when you only have one box, all of the accessories are the same. What's convoluted in our industry and is out of whack is all these different accessories that are required for a different speed machine, whether it's a black and white machine or whether it's a color machine. You need this finisher, or you need that finisher, or this finisher won't work with that machine, or this accessory won't work on a color machine. It'll work on a black and white machine. Simplify the industry. And I believe that'll help out not only dealers, it will help out the manufacturers, and it will help out the sales people.
Interesting. Is that even mechanically doable?
I think it is. Anything is doable as long as you put your mind to it. We all know that. It's just a question of, do the manufacturers want to do that? But I've seen more manufacturers not giving you get the box and you can buy certain machines and they'll give you a speed license, but you've got to buy that license in advance and then you can't change that speed license. I would like the ability to change the speed license. So I get a machine, right? And my customer gets a machine, it's a 25 page a minute machine, and all of a sudden their needs change. I can go in 2 years later and sell them a license for 45 pages a minute or 50 pages per minute, instead of having to go back to my client and say, okay, well, you're in a 5-year lease. You need something bigger or better or faster. So you're going to have to eat 36 months of payments in order to right-size your account. Where is that fair?
Well,
we have the
you
technology.
just destroyed 4 leasing companies.
Pardon?
You just destroyed 4 leasing companies.
Well, yeah, pretty much did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very complex business formula. Although I see the merit of what you're saying, but I don't think it's as simple as 1A3 or 1A4. But certainly they can modify it.
Can narrow down the product line. But I'm chuckling because I've heard this from Art for a while now. But I kind of agree with it. But the whole multiple lines and multiple speeds and multiple choices is a marketing ploy. It's not really an engineering ploy or a program, right? Because
it's a profit.
Isn't that, well, yeah, it's profit. But not that there's anything wrong with that, right? That's okay. But there might be a different way nowadays, especially where what we're looking at is the street. I don't know, Art, because didn't someone just come out? Didn't Caton or somebody just come out? I mean, with new copiers or something like that, some new manufacturers in following the old model. But if they followed, hey, listen, I've got 3 machines or at 3 different, if they used what talk track you just said, that would be totally different in the industry.
Yeah.
That might.
Caton's doing some very, I'm not so well, again, we all have opinions, right?
Right.
I think what Caton is doing some pretty cool things, as is
I don't know. That's
management. It's about the business buying process. Streamline the number of boxes. You don't have to commit to a quota for $42 million with co-op. You buy one at a time, they warehouse them, they ship them. I mean, they make it easier and easier. And I do think there's a valid point that you make with, minimize the complexity of the accessories and, fewer engines and things like that, which frankly might be the outcome of relationships like Toshiba and Ricoh, or, what some of these new things that are bubbling up. But, it's a very complicated business model. I mean, can you imagine if you went back to a leasing company and said, hey, guess what? They're going to last 10 years and we only have 2 of them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like the last 10 years part
Sounds
of
like
it.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point. But have you ever spoken with an OEM about it?
Yeah, I've had some talks with not anybody really high up in the food chain. No,
Hmm.
no, but
Maybe this podcast will send a message over to them.
maybe ECS, I actually did have a talk with somebody. You just reminded me of my talk with somebody at ECS about my ideas of getting down to 2 or 3 models and doing licenses.
Well, everything is licenses now, so that is actually a good idea. The question is how, right? And by the way, thanks for coming to ECS.
No worries. I enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy the cold nights.
Yeah, well, we're moving it back to February to make sure it's a little warmer.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe next year I'd have to bring my parka for the cold nights.
Oh my
Bring a
God.
parka, it'll be 80 at night. So bring the parka.
Oh yeah, yeah. By the way, the guy in charge of that thing is a dumbass. He should have moved everybody inside.
Fires
That'd
weren't
be
cutting
neat.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question I have, and I'm glad we brought it up. Like, so what's going to be the next water? Right? What aren't we looking at that is right in front of us? I don't know. But
Robots.
what's going to be the next water?
Robots.
Yeah. He's right.
All right. I love it.
He's right. I mean, there's a lot of truth in what you just said, Art. So the big argument right now, if you look past print copy, so you have 3 or 4 components that are critically important: IT services, MNS, and what version of IT services or cybersecurity, right? But the thing that stitches them all together is artificial intelligence, right?
Yes.
So what's the hang up about artificial intelligence? When you look at the dealer community, probably 80% of the dealers don't use artificial intelligence.
It's at least
So there's a practical application of making sure people use it and bring profitability back. There's the marketing component of that. And then there's the larger issue is power. So you cannot, so there's a competing forces between data centers and quantum computing.
right.
That's a collision right now.
Are you talking about energy, right?
Energy.
Okay. Go
Pure energy and infrastructure. So from a overarching view, that has to happen and happen fast. They have to fix the energy. And that's the competing forces between quantum and regular data centers. Now, set that aside. Art's right. I mean, it's going to be agents, it's going to be robots, it's going to be, things that are available today, and they just need to figure out the business model to get it out there.
Right. I mean, you probably Art and I have been playing with LLMs, and when I say playing, helping other dealers and dealers by sales teams, right down to the tactical in the trenches to learn how to use the LLM. So when you say 80%, I'm going to say probably 90% of them don't use it. I would say that a good percentage of the sales staff has at least tried it, right? But they've got way too much going on entering the CRM to really dive into it. But we've spoken to maybe 3, 4 different dealers. The impacts are huge, just on a simple LLM. It's not
Think about
surgery.
And again, John, forgive me for being a lecturer here today, but the intriguing thing, I was on a what we call our advisory board. I was on a call with a bunch of the dealers and talking about AI. And we had a few of their sales managers and a few of the salespeople. And of course, the dealer principal says, why do I want it? How does it make me money? Blah, blah, blah. And then I posed a question to the middle managers. Do you guys use AI in your personal life?
Right.
Every single one of them said yes, which shocked the dealer principal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, why are you guys doing this at home and you're not showing us how to do it at work? So it's a funny time, right?
It is a funny. It reminds me of the old days when your PC at home with AOL and a 2400 baud modem would do things at home that you couldn't do at work on the work computer, right?
Yep.
Because it's a mini, it's a System 36. Why can't I print labels? Why I can do it at home? My wife did it for whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I think that's where we're at. But different to then, it took maybe a decade to get converge the points. We're talking months. Every week is something different that brings it closer and closer. But I like what Art said, because I think what Art means by the right, Art, the robots is to be a provider of robots, right, Art? Is that what you're thinking?
Provider. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let the manufacturers take over, like the Konica Minoltas, the Xeroxes, the Ricos of the world. And they're all going to be planned obsolescence, right? Who's going to make something that's going to last forever? No one. And
Except for ECI.
except for ECI, right? And then
Yeah,
and
talk
then
about Frankenstein. Don't even get me going.
we have the break and fix in place.
So this is where Art and I go to loggerheads, because I say the robots will fix the robots.
Well, I agree they will, but it's not going to happen right away.
No, I think there's a window. I know there's a window. There is a window.
Right.
I don't know where.
I don't think that window is
It's not open yet.
No, but
well-
it's I hope, like everything else that's happening with AI, it doesn't like wake up Monday morning and go, everyone's selling robots. Well, when did that happen? It's like, but it's going to be fast, but it's not going to be like selling a 2400 baud modem and jumping up to Wi-Fi or something like that. It's going to be, that took a decade, like I said.
The manufacturers have to embrace it. Right now, the manufacturers are all confused with their digital portfolios, right? And sooner or later, scanning is going to wind down like copiers are, and
I have
they need to
statistics that
find
say
something
robots.
else.
I'm in this every single day. I can't quote them now, but I have statistics that say there's going to be a robot for every human on the planet. And we're not talking in 50 years, soon.
I'm good with that.
So I think, though, Art, what I'm saying is there's a market there. I don't think any of our OEMs are even thinking about that, right?
I
So it's gonna have to come from the
I
outside.
wouldn't say. Actually,
think
we don't. They only want us to know what they want us to know. I'm sure all of them are doing something.
I think Konica Minolta has that one robot that I saw going around the Hilton to
Yep.
serve
Yeah,
food
well,
and
there are
drinks and
robots out
stuff
there
like
doing
that.
kung fu right now. So that little serving martinis robot isn't gonna cut it.
Right.
Wow, that's really interesting. I think maybe I might pursue that, because
Well,
they're not manufacturing them in mass yet, so they don't even know what a
Right. They're not
channel
even
is.
there yet. We're probably in the back in the 1880s. Didn't Henry Ford come out, and Henry Ford said something about the cars need to be in every household or
Yeah,
something to that effect.
he said a lot of things. He said that you have to make a product that your workers can afford, which was very important. So the Model T came out. I also said it's any color as long as it's black. But that's a good example, because the car came out, the automobile, and then less than 10 years, there were no more horses. That's how quick that moved. We're moving faster than that. So I'm wondering.
Well, we're in the fifth industrial revolution,
Yes,
so
we
everything
are.
that's coming is not going to be what was, but it's going to be a foundational move. But again, you take a look at everything. Just look at our distribution as it exists today. You're either a copier dealer or you're not, or you're a copier dealer and you're IT, or you're a copier dealer in water, or you're a copier dealer in something. But the collision is the age of the owner, the age of technology, the age of the people that work there. So think of it this way: everything is AI. Mike Marusic's talking about AI with Sharp. Konica Minolta's talking about AI with Sharp. Everybody's talking about AI with something. And yet you just said, Greg, 90% of them aren't in it. So that's a car wreck.
It's another car wreck. Yep.
It's a car wreck. So it has to be sorted out, and it will be sorted out. But then on top of that, the dealer infrastructure has to be able to embrace the billing of those things. So if you're on a COBOL-based ERP from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, how do you possibly incorporate IT services and anything with artificial intelligence into the billing process? How do you do that?
Can't be done.
There's no AI revenue model yet either. So I mean, if they try and wedge it into a subscription, which is what we're doing, but ultimately, yeah.
I mean, it's just they don't fit.
COBOL, really, Mike?
They're not COBOL, but
Okay,
I use that as an analogy.
good metaphor. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
John, you know about Cobalt, right?
Oh my God.
Didn't you learn on Cobalt?
When in college, we studied for one semester COBOL, and the second semester was Fortran.
There you
And
go.
Don't even get me going.
That was it.
I had 2 semesters of COBOL, 1 of Fortran. Then I had Pascal, PL1, Lisp. I did everything except for assembler. It's a nightmare.
Wow.
It's no, it isn't. It's terrible. It was a waste of money. It sucked. It was worse than calculus. Calculus was
It sucked.
it was the
John,
worst.
did you
Like-
do any programming then, or back in
No,
the
I was
day?
mechanical engineering, not computer or not electrical.
Okay.
So
So
it
you
wasn't- it wasn't my-
classes, right?
yeah, that was enough.
You're lucky, dude, because I couldn't believe it. You had to wait at 2 a.m. at the freaking glass window so your program would come out in green bar wide. And
Yep,
you
yep.
oh, well, this is where
Yep.
then you recompile, and then you have to wait another 2 hours to get it. I'm getting delayed stress, dude.
So Mike, John is actually one of our solutions specialists at Stratic Systems.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Yeah, I love hearing about the old days. You know, I started in '92 in the business as a tech. So all the copiers I first worked on were analog, but then right after that, we got the first Rico digital, and that had its own controller. You had to plug in a side. It was a parallel port.
Nick Card.
And yeah.
Oh, what's
And
that?
yeah, you couldn't network it because you had to. So you had to buy a little access box
Yes.
to make it networkable. And that's when I got into the technology side. So I did tech stuff for 8 or 9 years, and I was worked on Microsoft for a few years, and then yeah, that was the whole beginning of it. So
Yeah, incredible journey.
it is. When I look back on how different it was then, it's a shame that the people that struggle that we had to go through was lost. And I'm sure people in the 50s and 40s and the 1800s are saying, "Oh, we got it so good now," because so it's just different. But still, it was a very interesting time. It was.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was the heydays. And frankly, I think we're back in the heydays again. It's just different.
I think it's going to be even bigger than what it
Yeah.
was. I mean, I was around the very first president I was able to vote for was Reagan. So 1980, right? Coming out of the Carter years, the RNC was in Detroit, Michigan. I remember it. I was there. We went into a recession. Interest rates on a credit card were like 18%, or it was some stupid number. It's like, wow. And it was not that good economically at first, but then, oh my gosh, it carried all the way through the Bushes to I think Clinton may have been the last president to really benefit from that whole thing that Reagan did. I mean, political aside, business wise, it's like,
All I'll tell you is Art and I made a hell of a lot of money with the 450Z. We made a lot of money selling plain paper copiers.
There was another box that you sold for list, every single one of them.
Or over list, because we made up some BS about, You can copy oversized copies, which nobody did,
Right.
right?
With
You can
zoom
zoom.
to 1/10 of 1%,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Who
Got it.
reduced or enlarged to 1/10 of 1%? Well, I found out that print shops did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were using those big whiteboards to resize images at the time. And that's where we sold a crap load of the 450Zs, because they could just put it on the platen and then go to 1/10 of 1% to resize that image.
Well, you know, Art, the walk down memory lane is incredible,
You
right?
guys are
And you
killing
think
me,
about the
both of you guys.
successes and the pain. I mean, just
Yeah.
loading it up on a Fernald Washington cart was painful. But it was also your motivation to not take it home,
That's right.
Yes.
you know?
You were the king when you brought back a check instead of the copier.
Oh, yeah.
You were a god.
Yeah, you were a god.
You sold that? How the hell did you sell that so quick?
Yeah, because my back is broken.
Wow.
And you know what?
Oh.
There's a lot of what you're saying, Art, I find fascinating, and it's food for thought, you know, the whole licensing thing. But when you go back and you look at the old wins, there's a lot of merit toward, you know, you can direct it towards what we're doing today, right? You really can. You can really think back to, well, we had this problem, this is what we did to resolve it, right? Or, you know, I remember when facsimile came out. I'm sure you do too. 80% of the sales force was, oh my God, I got to sell two. And I was like, hey, this is good. I got to sell two.
Well, yeah, especially when you got spiffs on each machine,
Yeah,
right? And all of
yeah,
a sudden you walked into account and said, well, okay, I don't need two, I need 10,
exactly.
right? Or I want to have 10 fax lines and I get 10 machines running on 10 separate fax lines for the orders to come in.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
And they're coming in 24/7. I remember those days. I was
Mhm.
on the West Coast with
Mhm.
what was that? Oh, the housing boom. That's right. Oh my.
Yeah. Now all you have to do is pop open a screen and find out how many clicks and orders you got. I mean, it's like what a world.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And how much paper you actually sold?
Yep.
Thermal paper.
Yep.
So, yeah, interesting. Great times. And we had some really fun times with those fax machines as well, being in your 20s and in sales. Yeah, when there was no caller ID,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Well,
would
we
kind
don't
of
wanna
like
go- we're not
spoof.
gonna
Still
talk about.
receptionist.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that though.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I loved watching, what was that TV show? Mad Men? Mad Men?
Oh yeah, Mad Men.
When they got their first Xerox machine and they had to like have a astronaut to run it.
That's right. They shipped with fire extinguishers or something like that.
John,
So
did you,
I bet you're never going to invite me again.
why wouldn't we? It's been a fun time.
Well,
One time.
if I do
Absolutely.
come back, I'm coming with a cigar and a bourbon.
There
Damn
you go.
straight.
So it's always good to walk down memory lane.
Always.
I love it.
Always.
I say there's a book here somewhere.
John, did you sell fax machines?
I worked on fax machines.
Okay.
Yes. The thermal through the first plain paper copiers or plain paper fax machines. Yeah, up through where they would be, you know, embedded in a copier. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of fax machines out there. Yeah.
Well, John, how long have you been in the business?
I started in 92, October of 92. So that was since 33 years, 34 years.
That
Yeah.
was probably the height of the fax when fax took off,
It
1992.
was big. It was. They were relatively, you know, they weren't too bad to take care of. But I learned a lot about telephones and.
Do you remember any of the names like Murata?
Oh my
No,
God.
well, the
Sanyo?
company, the dealer I worked for was they sold Ricoh mostly.
Right.
Actually, they sold Lanier, which at that time Lanier could have been anything. Lanier was rebadged Canon, it was rebadged Panasonic, it was rebadged Mita, it was rebadged 3M. You know, it could have been anything. but eventually they switched to Rico, and it was almost all Rico stuff for most of my
Right. Did you know Mitsubishi sold fax machines?
Mitsubishi.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no. Under their
sold-
own name.
Under their own name. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we were a dealer for Mitsubishi. We were also a dealer for, get this, it was a company out of Sweden called the Televaxafax.
Wow.
Never heard of them. That
we
one
were
I-
Never heard of that one.
We sold those like hotcakes, but the selling point was, well, you know, the technology of the Saab and the technology that Sweden creates. This is how good these fax machines are.
Oh boy. Well, the Saab didn't exactly work well.
I'm surprised that worked. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they
That's
actually
why
had a
all the
pretty
unit-
good
the
jet
u-
fighter, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, they would throw the jet fighter up there. I
Yes.
remember that because most of the owners would sob about it.
Literally. I thought you were going to tell me the reason why you sold so many was because of the Swedish calendars.
No.
Remember that? The Swedish, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'll get sued by somebody.
It was like using what the Osays used. Was it the Danish technology or something? They were from Holland, weren't they? Osays or something like that.
Denmark, or
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
from one of those. But you know that kind of craftsmanship.
European
lasts
technology.
forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. German craftsmanship.
Crack me up.
And
Crack
now
me up.
here we are.
And
Yeah,
here
I
we
know.
are.
I mean, think about that. Zoom calls have changed the world.
The world.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, they have.
I don't know.
Well,
Is it legal to be drinking bourbon and having cigars on a Zoom call? Is there like some kind of restriction?
I had my legal department check into it. And yes, we're okay.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Excellent.
Actually, I asked ChatGPT.
Is it okay? Yes.
It's okay. Wow. Well, which, Mike, I'm glad you came in. And I really, so when I asked about what's the next water, robots, I like. I think that's a really good idea. And we're ahead of the curve there. And then we did kind of swerve into it, Mike, but I don't know if there's a revenue model that we can build around AI, right? I think it's still on the cost reduction side.
Well, that's all right. So great comment. So when I think about AI, there are multiple paths for AI. When we talk about AI, typically we're talking about a dealer incorporating it into their business, which is why you first think efficiencies, profitability, all those things, service call, service management, training desk, and all that stuff. But the real world for AI is beyond the dealer.
Yeah, it is.
And they're making all kinds of money. So, and I don't know if you remember Art Anthony Babos, the guy from Vitalink. He's the CTO for that $1 billion company, and he was sitting up there on a panel talking about AI for his company,
Right.
and the agents. So he explained to everyone at ECS that he has a 3-year project worth $35 million for, I think it was 30, forgive me if I'm wrong on the number, but it was multi-millions of dollars for the implementation of AI inside of his company and all the things that go beyond agents. He paid for that. He procured the company, he contracted with the company, he has assessments, he has, implementation people. Someone there, those are the two things I think of. Our audience is first the dealer community because it's what we do. But the truth of it is, if you look at the trillions of dollars that are going to be spent in IT, AI over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, the dealers have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So of course they can't figure out how to monetize it because they can't see it. They don't understand it. And my recommendation to the dealers at ECS, and frankly, we're doing it right now. Were you there, Art, when I asked the question, how many of you dealers actually have an end user advisory group?
Yes, I was there. I think
And how many answered?
3.
3 out of 300. So if you don't have the communication with your clients or potential clients about what they're doing with AI or robots or anything else,
Right.
you're not going to pay attention.
Only 3?
Good point.
Not many hands went up.
3. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, wow. It's like 2010 all
Yeah.
over.
So one of the things I'm encouraging the dealers to do is to make sure they look outside their employee pool. Even look outside their own account base. You can certainly get a group of 10 people, half of whom might be your client and half who might not be. And what are you going to ask them? How
Are you using AI?
I agree. Mike, you have a very close circle of dealer friends. Are any of them doing that?
Well, I said 80% aren't.
I know.
So
but
when I say 20%, I'm factoring into that half of the 20% are not good,
yeah,
but they're trying.
they're trying. Yeah.
So the other 10%, I would say, of our group, are doing
That's what
something.
okay.
They're doing something. And typically it's going to be the obvious thing, which is either marketing support and or service help desk.
Yeah, and one dealer I met at ACS was knocking it dead with marketing and artificial intelligence. I had a chance to speak to him at length for about 45 minutes during the show, and it was quite interesting how he's using it. I think he was even up on the panel.
He was
talking about it. Yep.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. So my advice to the industry and to our community is, hey, if you need to have these advisory councils, we'll help you form them and shape them, and what questions to ask. We're not just lecturing them about it. But once you get inside a company like Anthony's, where he's literally telling you as a dealer, we've already committed multiple millions of dollars for the implementation of AI. Now, wouldn't you as a dealer want to know, well, how did you figure that out? How did you procure it? Where did you go to? Why wasn't I involved? So
Forgive me, Mike.
that's the next, to me,
what is Anthony?
right, that's the next water.
Oh, okay. What is Anthony's business, or the gentleman you're speaking of? What does he do?
So he's the CTO for a $1 billion company.
A manufacturer, or he's not in our industry? $1 billion.
No, he's in a variety of things, manufacturing.
All right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It reminds me when Price Waterhouse dipped hard, like 12 months after ChatGPT hit. Price went in deep, and I know Price really well. So when they do stuff like that, that means they're really, they don't do it just for themselves. They do it because the world is going to change. I mean, they jumped into remote, I think, 36 months before COVID. So when COVID hit, they no big deal. They just switched. So interesting.
Yeah. So if you don't have an advisory council, you might want to have one at Strata.
Yeah, I'll actually be out with the powers to be on Wednesday all day.
And we'll help you do it. I mean, we don't charge, we're there to help, help you do it, right? Get you going.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So everyone, we've hit the witching hour. We're a little bit 5 minutes after 5. It is Friday. I think this is our 53rd show or 56th show. I'm starting to lose count, but
Wow.
Sooner or later we're going to get to 100. I also wanted to, I'm not sure if you were this, Greg or John, last week our show with PFU had 2,600 views.
I saw
which
that.
was our highest views so far. So that was pretty cool.
It's pretty good.
But John, I'd like to thank you very much. You're always welcome. You're our guru of technology here. Mike, great to see you. Great to hear your input. And Greg, have another bourbon. I'll smoke another cigar, and we'll see you all next Friday.
All right.
You
Excellent.
guys have
Good
a great
show.
weekend and happy St. Patty's Day.
Oh, yes. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Same to you.